Hey everyone, welcome to today's Coolest Boss Ever YouTube Live. Are you a business owner or a manager that just cannot figure out why, your employees aren't jumping for joy every time they come to work, or your clients or customers aren't really giving you a lot of referrals? I mean, you do offer the best in the industry, right? Well, I think most business owners think they do, but today we're going to dig in, guys, and we're going to talk about what is that fuel we need to get people jumping for joy and bringing in and being like a magnet to your clients and customers and your referrals. So my name is Rich Kohler. I am the founder of Coolest Boss Ever, and I help small business owners build dream teams because I believe that your dream life, whatever that may be to you, is only one dream team away. You cannot do it yourself. I tried. Anyways, so today what we're going to do is we're going to dig into what are fakers? What does it mean? Are you faking it? Because people, your employees, your clients, they can see it a mile away. And so what do I mean by what is a faker? And think about this. Leave in the comments if like you run into someone and they're like all talk and you're like, after they, you leave them, you walk away and you're kind of like, yeah, right, they're full of shit, right? So because they're fakers, they're posers, and you see it all the time. For instance, years ago in my industry, I went to this function and it was, run by a very successful speaker and organization. And they were more or less, bringing out and putting on a platform one of their clients that has done really, really well with their systems and their organization. And, so I went down there, a bunch of us went down there to say, okay, what's this guy doing that is, bringing in all these new clients for himself? And so the one in charge, the one that is well respected, he knew what he was doing, hard work and all of that. But I'm talking about being a faker, a poser. And I don't know about you, but that's one of my pet peeves. Everybody's got their thing, but no, don't tell me one thing and insult my intelligence because I'm looking at what you're doing. I'm looking at what you're offering. And I don't want you to be it, because every day that you are perceived as being a faker in your industry, as whether it's a service or a product, in other words, they know you're not really into it. And we're going to talk all about that today and how to get really into it. So you can be super successful. But every day that goes by, your employees are losing morale. You don't have that enthusiasm. You're losing out on money. You're losing out on productivity. You're losing out on a lot. And it doesn't take long before even the biggest companies go down. And I think you've seen that quite a bit lately. All you got to do is turn on the TV. Super companies going down. Why? Because they lost their purpose, they lost their values, they lost the fuel that ignites all the other stuff. All right, so today we're going to talk about that. So dig in, get out a notebook or a piece of paper, maybe take some notes. And this stuff right here can turn a lot around for you. All right, so first of all, when we talk about, what makes a good company, what everyone says, leadership, and that's true. And a lot of times, though, and people that whenever you read a book on leadership or you talk to someone about leadership, they're always talking about what I would call the tactical aspect of it, and we teach that too. I mean, you need to know these strategies and these skills of good leadership, but this other stuff is the fuel that ignites it all. So you've heard about being authentic and empathy with your company, with your employees, and rewards and recognition, and all these other things here, quota, all these other things that are part of being good leadership. And yes, they are important. But you know what? That's without something that's going to guide them, then it's not going to work. They're going to lose that enthusiasm, and you lose your company culture. All right, so today, the first thing I want to start with is what we call self-leadership. Everyone talks to me, how do I become a better leader? How do I become what can I show more of? And you're you're usually going to just like give them hey, you got to be more trustworthy, you got to be more open to feedback, things like that as a leader, and those are important. All right. But really, self leadership starts with the one on top. Whether I work mostly with small business owners. Why? Because this is what I can touch on right at the beginning. When they say to me, "Hey, Rich, I want to build a dream team. How do I build a magnetic company culture that's going to attract clients, customers, and the best talent to be on my team?" Well, the first thing I say is, well, it starts with self leadership. You can't expect to be a good leader to your employees, to others, unless you are a good leader to yourself first. So, one of the things that we'll talk about that I start with has two purposes. One is something that gives you, hope and like, wow, feel good. The pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, so to speak. Um, so you need that as a leader, okay? But you also to be congruent. So you're not one of those fakers or one of those posers. You have to be congruent with other things as well. And that's what. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to think, and we'll just take a moment here. I mean, you're going to be thinking about this every day if you follow the methodology that I encourage people to do. But I want you to think about what is your dream life. If you're a small business owner, which means you have a lot of control of everything, right? I mean, that's why you became self-employed, to have control. Uh, Probably didn't realize how much you're going to have to put into it. Why should I work for someone else when I can work for myself? But you found out pretty quick, I'm sure. And so, but you need to know, what is your dream life. So let's go out, say 3 years, 3 years, and it goes by pretty quick, especially if you're not following your roadmap, your blueprint. So, what is your dream life 3 years out? What is your future self? And I'm talking about you personally, as the leader, as the owner, as the founder. Okay. Or maybe just a manager. But either way, personally, what is your dream life 3 years from now? Now, you might think, oh, this is, okay, I get it. I'm going to do a vision board and all that. Yeah, that stuff is part of the process sometimes. It works for some people, it doesn't work for others, but it all kind of is the same thing in the end. But what is your dream life? The hardest part about thinking about your dream life 3 years from now is being able to eliminate your negative filter that you've built up over your lifetime. So the more experiences you've had, and we've all had experiences, both good and bad, the more things get into our head, and that might be, and they create limited beliefs, quite honestly. So when I ask people, hey, you gotta, or I tell people, you gotta build out your dream life first. Where do you want to be 3 years from now? And they go, well, I would like that. I go, no, no, no. It's not about, well, I would like, what would it be? If you had a magic wand, what would it be? There's no way you can fail. What would it be? What kind of person would your future self be 3 years from now? Where are you living? And believe me, you can get very detailed. And actually, the more detailed you get with this, by writing down every little detail you can think of, like, what do I look like? What shape am I in? What's my mindset? What are my hobbies? What am I able to do? Do I need an alarm clock every morning, or can I get up whenever I want? All of those things are going to matter. But can you imagine really taking the time to sit down and writing a dream life 3 years from now, your dream life? Now, that, once again, that's different for all the types of people. Some people might want to live in the middle of the wilderness and peace and nature, and no electronics, whatever it is. Other people might want more of an elegant, elaborate dream lifestyle, and the cruises and the vacations and the big mansions and the luxury cars. Whatever it is to you, it has to be deliberate. You have to have intent. It's not just going to happen for you. I mean, I think, the more freedom that you want from whatever it is in this world, the more it's going to cost you one way or another. Freedom costs money, freedom costs work, freedom costs sacrifice. Freedom. Everybody loves freedom. And obviously, many people take freedom for, they just take it for granted. But it does cost something. It costs lives. Okay. So, what is your dream life? Once again, take a moment, write this down. I would live here. I would live like this. I would live with this, these people. These would be my friends. This is what I would be doing. And when you go just 3 years out, which is pretty relatively quick, you could go out longer, of course, but for now, just 3 years out, that is your dream life. Those are what I would call your desired outcome. That's what you want to happen. So once we figure out what that is, we start with that, then we can go into some of the things that create that dream life. So, for instance, you have your desired outcomes. All right. What are you going to do? What do you want to be doing in order to achieve that desired outcomes? What's going to be your purpose? Your purpose meaning, what is your purpose on this earth? And I think most people are good people, and most people feel good about being able to offer solutions to other people. I mean, that's the way I lived my whole, career, was giving to other people. And we'll get in a little bit more into that as well, on how that is so important. I figured out my purpose relatively early. I think I figured out my purpose in terms of my career, and in fact, until the day I die, I figured that out relatively early. I would say in my early 20s. Okay. So when I read all these books about, what is your purpose, and people without purpose, and there's hundreds, if not thousands of books on your purpose, it's kind of weird for me. Like, whoa, I figured that out at, 20, 23. I think it was 23 years old. I figured that out. And that was because of a transformation and a shift in my life, doing something. And then when that happens, I said, hey, look it, I want to share this with others. Because of the feeling it gave to me, I knew it could give that same feeling to others. So once again, mine is service oriented. Yours may be a service, it might be a product, it might be any of those things. But is it helping other people? What is your purpose on life? And the more you can get dialed in on that and focused on that, that also will become part of your dream life, your dream lifestyle. You ask people, what do you want to do when you retire? To me, I don't think I would ever retire, because I do something right now, even now, that has purpose, that I love to do. Is it work sometimes? Yes. Do I feel like doing it sometimes? No. All right. But I could always semi-retire. And what is the difference? Retiring, pretty much you see people that retire and they kind of wither away, or they have the nicest lawn in the neighborhood, whatever it is, but they need to do something. People need to contribute. They need to have purpose of something. Mine happens to be helping people, right? Helping certain target people. What does that mean? Obviously, being a martial arts instructor for about 30, almost 40 years now, and a personal development coach as well. Obviously, I'm helping people achieve things they normally wouldn't be able to achieve on their own, without help, without a coach. And I give them ways to build up confidence and things like that, that will enable them. I can't do it for them, but it will help them do it for themselves. That's the purpose I do. But you may have a product. I mean, and believe me, everybody, and really cool, because I go out, I see everyday people, and I'm like, even if it's a crap job to me, I watch some people and they're like doing it so well and so good. I'm like, damn, that they're into it. They're not just doing it for a paycheck at the end of the week. Obviously, we all need a paycheck, but that's not why they're doing it. They have purpose. Maybe, if you're building a certain kind of building, some people will only build educational facilities, because it's not just about the aesthetics of the building, but maybe because they want to know they're contributing to educating people. Whatever it is. I don't want to sound corny or anything, whatever it is to you. But what is your dream life, and how are you going to take that 3 years in the future, bring it back and say, okay, if this is what I want, what is my purpose? What can I offer that I really align with to others, to help me achieve that dream life personally? Okay. And then what are the rules? And this is important. What are the rules? Otherwise known as values. I call them the rules. So you could want, I'll just use this as an example. You could want the big house and the luxury car and the vacations and this and that and everything else. And look, everybody has their thing. That sounds awesome to me. But that being said, but if you're willing to do anything, or anything to get it, and we all know that, just watch some of these TV shows with all the greed and this and that. I mean, I believe what goes around comes around. We see a lot of that these days. Um, but you need to have rules. What are your rules? Is it okay to you to rip people off or stomp on people to get to the top, so to speak, or burn bridges? Some people, they have no problem doing it because the outcome is all they're focusing on. Hey, that's up to them. I don't think it ever turns out good. Sooner or later, it goes around, comes around. And some people are willing to take that gamble. Me personally, I wouldn't. I know. I mean, I've sacrificed my whole career in terms of time and freedom and financially things like that in order to be able to help people the way I've been helping them. That's fine. Nothing wrong with delayed gratification, right? But what are your rules? Think about it. What are your rules? What are your values? Do you believe in being honest no matter what with your employees? That could be one of your values. These are some of your values. One thing that we use at my business, my other business, is we talk about strength and excellence. That's kind of part of our core values of what we do. Now it sounds strength and excellence, but it has meaning. And the reason why it has meaning is because it's not just stuck on a wall, which it is, by the way, but it's not just stuck on a wall. It's embedded into the whole culture, whether it's the team, the employees, or it's the clients and customers. We all share those values. So strength and excellence, what does that mean? Excellence to me means, having a certain standard or level that you are striving for constantly. Excellence, whatever that may be to you and what you do. Excellence. So to maintain that level of excellence, that means I expect it from myself first as a self leader. Remember, it takes self leadership before you can lead others. You can't fake it, read a book, take a course, and say, okay, now that I'm in a managerial or I'm in a business owner or whatever, I'm going to learn how to be a leader. Look, at if it doesn't align with your values, if it doesn't align with your purpose, if none of that, and you're just faking it and you're being a faker, once again, your employees will see it a mile away. Your clients and customers will see it a mile away. When they go, look at when you, and I know I get it, but when you show up at a dealership to buy a specific brand, and that salesperson is telling you how great it is and it's going to be awesome and it does this and it does that, and then at the end of the day you see them leaving in a different brand vehicle, that's not congruent. Now if you sell luxury cars, you may not be at the point where you can afford one of those, maybe, but the reality is, look, you can't be a faker, you can't be a poser. I'm in the martial arts industry, believe me, I see plenty of them. Child safety, I'm an expert in child safety, develop programs, award-winning programs, worldwide stuff. And I see a lot of school owners or instructors in the martial arts industry teaching child safety. Some of them are really good at it. I studied it on a very intensive level and then created something that made it very valuable to the masses, through video and through fantasy adventure and things like that, using a lot of psychology, and a lot of those things in order to make it powerful and effective still. So you got to get to stake if you're going to sell a sizzle, right? But I see so many instructors teaching child safety, and like, ooh, they're making some big mistakes, not intentionally, but because they got a flyer that said, hey, this is how you teach child safety. And they're like, hey, well, this could attract students, and I just want students, and this is what I want to do. If you're really into keeping kids safe, child safety, if you're really into keeping women safe, women's empowerment, well, you're going to go the extra mile and you're going to dig in and you're going to find out what are the best ways, physically, emotionally, mentally, what are the best ways to convey that knowledge and teach that knowledge. But if you're just reading off a sheet of paper because it's marketing 101 and that's going to get you new clients, I would call you a faker. I would call you a poser. How do you deny it? And hopefully people see it right away, because I mean, the last thing you want to do in our industry is create a false sense of security. And that's the worst thing you can do. I hate to break the news to you, but fitness, kickboxing is not going to teach you how to defend yourself on the street. Will it give you tools? Possibly, depending on the instruction. But I'll tell you, without the proper methodology of training and pressure testing and the psychological training and desensitization and all those things that you need to incorporate into that training, I mean, there's no guarantees no matter who you are for self-defense. that you're gonna, survive. But if you're not doing all of that and you're just cranking out cool music and strobe lights and hitting a bag and terrible technique, but everyone's, burning calories, don't tell them you're teaching self-defense. It's a disservice. Okay. Possibly on the edge of negligence, because now these people go out and go, oh, I know how to kick butt, and obviously we don't want that. So, but that goes in any industry, no matter what you're doing. Okay. So, you got your dream life figured out. What are your values? What are the rules? Write them down. Excellence to me is a certain level of standard. I do it for myself first. I wouldn't expect anyone else to do it if I don't do it. And then any client or customer that I have is going to align with that same standard of excellence. They want excellence. All right. Now, the second thing I have is strength. Now, to me, strength is both physical and mental. All right. So I believe that nothing in the outside world is going to manifest intentionally unless somehow it starts inside your world. Everybody thinks they can change everything around them. Now, is there environmental things you can do in your business to change, feeling and vibe and mindset? Yeah, absolutely, there is. And in fact, but it's good for complementing, what is ingrained into your culture. So to me, strength, inner strength, having a strength to do the right thing, having a strength to make the right choices, having a strength to overcome fears, having a strength to just do your best and not have excuses, having a strength not to get into a victim mindset, a victim mentality. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, I suck at that. I never could do that. And that's just an excuse not to try. Why wouldn't you try? If I asked you, are you a good artist? Oh, no, I can't draw. I can't even draw stick figures. All right. Well, it's scientifically proven that you could learn in a very short period of time, believe it or not, how to do a portrait. No, 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 you don't understand. It's not in my system. That's a limited belief. Okay. So to me, strength would have the strength to have an open mind to say, hey, look, if this is what I really want, now I just got to find a way and it can happen, you know? So you see people that just run away from their challenges and run away from, anything that is an obstacle to them and come up with excuses and all of this and that. You'll never run away from what's inside you. So the reason why I'm getting to all of this is, to me, and I hope this is really getting into you where you're like, that makes freaking sense. That makes sense. And if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. I'd love to address them both, through future videos or personally, what have you. But you have the strength to just do what you got to do. In my when I'm teaching people, I have 3 rules. They're so simple. I have to remind a lot of people not to just disregard them. What are the 3 rules? Have fun, do your best. Every time you engage with whatever you're doing, make your best a little better. It becomes a mindset. Have fun, do your best, make your best better. Why don't people want to try things that they're not good at or that scare them or what have you? There's a difference between fear and danger. Danger is immediate. Danger means it's real. Danger means if there's a fire somewhere, you don't run into the fire. That's danger. Fear is that it's so hot out and everything's getting dry and oh my goodness, everything's going to burn down. It hasn't happened. It's not happening yet, or maybe never will. That's just fear. And that goes for a lot of things. Why don't people do videos? Why don't people speak on stage? Why don't people try out a new, a new fitness class or what have you? They don't. Because it really just goes back down to fear of embarrassment, fear of humiliation, fear of judgment of other people, and it's got nothing to do with most of the time of your excuses. If I ask somebody, hey, come on out, do this, and they're like, no, man, I don't want to look like an idiot. At least they're telling the truth. But why would you not do something that would be good for you because of what someone else might think? Because I'll tell you, as soon as you're not in sight of them, they probably aren't even thinking about you anyways. So strength and excellence is one of my 2 core values that we have at our school. And we not only expect it from ourselves first as team members, as employees, as representatives of the company, but then that obviously vibe goes into our culture. And and I'm telling you, even better than our current customers and clients, and this goes for my coaching clients as well, but it also starts that vibe starts going into your customers, your clients. And then that's how you create that feeling of magnetism where people start becoming you start attracting them to your company, whatever that may be. And that includes both clients, customers, and even, employees. How are you going to build a dream team? Look at Dream team is about having a business that is pretty much or as much self-running as you want it to be as the owner. So if you want to be in your business 80 hours a week, micromanaging, doing whatever, or maybe not even micromanaging, but just being there because you love it so much and you can honestly say it's not out of fear of standards, being too low if you're not around, well, then good for you. That's awesome. I love what I do. I love what I do, but I don't want to do it all day long, every day. Okay. Because I know I'm going to offer something better if I have time of my own freedom to pursue other things that are going to keep me energized and passionate because then I give it to my clients. All right. Um, but anyways, so what are the rules? You have what your dream life should be 3 years from now, what you want it to be, your future self, your future life. You got as detailed as possible from the color of your car to what you're doing for work and who's in your life and whether you even have an alarm clock, what you wear, what kind of clothes you wear, all of that. Imagine that. That's like having a wish. That's like saying, here, bing, there you go. Whoa. But 99% of the people say, yeah, that's great, but it'll never happen. And if you think it'll never happen and you say it'll never happen, you are totally correct. It will never happen because it's not going to fall in your lap. Listen, why do you think the highest sales in lottery and state lottery tickets is in the hardest areas, the lowest income areas? I mean, it's not surprising, but it's sad. It's because if you're going to spend all, this money, if you're going to spend this money on these tickets, you watch people scratch and scratch, what are the chances? What are the odds of you winning something that, a lottery, a lotto? And it's kind of sad in a way. And there are a lot of ways to describe it because, you know, I mean, they're like pushing it on these people. And they're spending some of them, what little money they have on this false hope. You have a better, and I always say this, and by the way, I did win $10,000 on a scratch off ticket when I was 18 years old. So I know what it feels like. That was 10 grand. All right. And it's a lot of money, but it's not 10 million. But I'll tell you what a feeling that was. But I could count less than 100 times in the last, age myself here, almost 40 years, 30 years since then, 40 years since then that I bought tickets. I just, because to me, I have more of a chance creating all that wealth or what have you, whatever you want to create by doing it this way, not by scratching a ticket. Look at my $10,000 ticket winner the chances was 1 in 400,000 people had that ticket. That's only 10 grand. 1 in 400,000. So if you take a football stadium, all those people, and they might have 60, 80, 90, whatever, 100,000 people inside that stadium, 4 of those for that one ticket. And I got it. Shit luck. Come on, let's be serious. This is going to get you where you want to go quicker and better because we all know people that win the lotto, most of them end up in more debt 3 years down the road than they were before. Because why? They didn't learn a lot of skills and strategies that would have been necessary to use that new wealth because they just weren't used to it. I mean, nothing against them. It's just the way it is. You got to learn. So that's why when you build yourself up and you envision your dream life and you say, okay, nothing wrong with my dream life. I deserve it because this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to follow my values and hopefully they're good values. And then what happens, people, is that becomes the fuel because you're going to use that when you build out your company, your business vision, purpose, mission, whatever you want to call it. Your vision is what you see in the future. Your mission is, why, that's kind of like what is the final outcome? What is your mission for your company? And that might not just be for your clients or customers. It might also be for your legacy. It might be a family thing, where you want it to be a generational company or something. and then your purpose. If somebody's into, oh, I don't know, I mean, people that do some, crappy jobs that someone's got to do it, and they do it really good and they're successful. And you know what? They're digging it. They're digging it. Good for them. And I respect that. I respect that. No matter what that job is, as long as it's doing good for somebody, then I respect that. And what I respect more than the fact that they're doing what could be a crappy job, I respect it when people take that, have the character to just do their best at what they're doing, and have a purpose, because man, this life is short. We only live once. And I don't know, it bothers me when I see people, just kind of trudging day after day. Hey, what's going on today? What's new? Nothing, same old shit. I mean, oh, I get it, but I don't want it to be me. It's not going to be me. And I certainly don't want it to be you, especially if you're watching my videos here, because I want to help you build a dream team. It starts with you, self leadership. I mean, I dig more into something like this, because, I could talk about it briefly here, but that's the first thing I do when I'm teaching clients. We're going to dig into this first. They all want to know, how do I talk? What kind of influential communication can I use? And how do I get people to work harder and do better and, be reliable and loyal without spending a fortune, to keep them in the company? How do I do? Of course, everybody wants to know that. But you got to start at the beginning, and that's inside the owner, because it all starts at the top and works its way down. Okay. So figure that out. Once you got that, then you can start digging into the business, how it parallels, because really a successful business starts with successful, effective leadership. And that starts from a successful, effective self leader. Okay. So that's why you got to start with yourself first. Then you can expand it over to your company's vision, your company's core values. And now it's congruent. You're not being a faker. You're not being a poser. And this is the coolest thing. And I like doing this. And just so, by the way, if you ever want to, I got a cool little case study video. It's like 15 minutes long that describes kind of what this is, my methodology of creating magnetic company cultures, which is see it. And that's what we're kind of doing right now. I'm sharing that with you right now. See it, believe it, because then we got to get your mind wrapped around it, right? And then you can achieve it. And that's when we get into the tactical stuff, communication and delegation and systems and all this stuff that people in companies hear about all day long and read about in books at night and things like that. And believe me, I see people every day that are thrust into leadership roles because they were good technicians, or they were reliable, or they were loyal to the company. And now all of a sudden they take them into, from somewhere where maybe they enjoyed it, but now they're putting them into a leadership role because the company thinks that it's going to rub off on all the other employees. And so what are they doing? They're going on, booksellers and stuff, and they're buying books and they're buying courses on how to be a good leader real fast. Because now they feel like, a beginner, a newbie again. And it is. But you know what? You got to align with the values. So I call that a vision-driven company. When you create your personal vision and then you create the vision for the company and you do all the blueprinting and then you reverse engineer it back into, you go yearly, quarterly, and then of course weekly, and then even daily tasks, and you delegate it to different, roles in your company. That's, I don't want to say that's the easy part, but that's like the blueprint. That's like, the nuts and bolts, but it all starts with the vision. And that's what creates the strategy. And so once again, if you want to check out that case study, just leave in a comment and I'll shoot you a link about it. And it's, I mean, I got it right here. I think grow your dream teams, dreamteamtoday.com or growingdreamteams.com. But either way, you can check it also out, comments, and then you'll see this cool little where you'll see how I actually take people, see it, believe it, achieve it, and really cool stuff, guys. All right, now, so you got this vision-driven company now because you've done the self-leadership and now you've done it for your company. Now and I know this isn't popular stuff. That's why so many companies don't make it, because this isn't the hard skills. This isn't the sales, hey, I went away for, 2 weeks on a sales training course. Is that stuff important? Absolutely, it's important. But if you're a fake or a poser, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. All talk, no walk, right? So, what you want to do now is you got all of that. You're going to say, okay, my mindset now is that that's going to be the fuel that pushes all this other stuff, the sales processes, the quotas, the operating systems that we have for our company, the deadlines and all the accountability and all that stuff. That's a lot of that is the hard, what I would call the hard tactics or the hard skills that is necessary. But it all starts with inside your head. Okay. So I mean, yeah, if you haven't already, just shoot me a comment. And you ever met, whether it's a boss or even a friend or someone that doesn't mean talk but doesn't walk, and they're a fake or poser? I just want you to think about that for a minute, because you don't want someone to say that to you if they walk into your business, right? And so that's why you should take the time to do something like this. All right. So how did I get my company's purpose? I got my company's purpose because when I started my martial arts training, I did it because I was a shy kid. I started relatively at an older age in today's standards, but I was back in the 80s when I started, 1980s. So I've been doing it quite a while now. And I did it because I was pretty much a shy kid, didn't have a lot of direction, didn't know what my purpose was. And you may relate to this as a business owner. I know you have to be somewhat self-motivated. Well, you'll find out how much. And I'm trying to help you with that to give you the best bang for your buck. But you'll find out, something happened in your life that you said, wow, I have a passion for this. Mine happened because after I started training for a number of years as a student to build up my self-confidence, I knew I could easily go down a wrong road. But I also inside knew that I had a lot to offer the world. I had always gotten good grades. I was always very empathetic to people as a kid. I mean, to a kid, I cared about others. I had, all of those things. I was passionate in whatever I did. I was into drawing and team sports, things like that. But it still wasn't enough for my self-confidence. And it was this internal conflict that I dealt with almost every day. I mean, any one of you that, deals with any, form of shyness or what have you, what I'm talking about. You could be so ambitious, and keep in mind, being an introvert and being shy can be two different things. Many people are both, but the reality is introversion, or being an introvert, more is about gathering, I'm just going to say it very, overall generalized here. But really being an introvert is more about getting your energy and, and all of that from within yourself. So in other words, you don't need to be in a wide open layout in an office building with a bunch of people working next to you to feel the energy and the vibe of the company. You don't need that. And it is very popular for company culture a lot of times for companies to want to do that. Well, that could be a nightmare for an introvert, because they just don't like all of that around them, all the different people and all of that. They would more likely give them a spot in a corner and they will work their magic. And there's nothing wrong with that. And it's nothing, they don't have anything against people. They just feel more focused and more energized when they're by themselves. Okay. And then you got other people that would, die. To them, that'd be like solitary confinement. They want people around. Me personally, living, when you're self-employed, a lot of times you'll find yourself, it can be lonely. So I don't have a problem being with myself a lot, because I get a lot of stuff done, and I'm very insightful, and I read a lot, I do all of these things. But I also love being around people in a sense that I love when I can feel their passions, and I can feel their purposes. And once again, I know it sounds corny, but that's why I do what I do, because I'm into this stuff, because I know it takes sacrifice, and I know it takes cojones sometimes to do it, because everybody wants the freedom, but they're not willing to make the sacrifices. As they say, you got to get success is at the other side of your comfort zone. No one ever, very few people make it past that comfort zone. It's just too scary for them. So anyways, So my purpose, being a shy kid and learning and building myself up and setting high standards for myself and all of that. And then I know I was assistant instructing one time a children's class, and we would always give high fives at the end of the class as they were walking off the mat, the little kids. And I just remember this little boy, I think he was about 5 or 6 years old. And keep in mind, up until then, I was just a karate guy. I trained every day for 6 hours. I obsessed with it because it made me feel strong. And I wasn't used to feeling that confidence. So I was just addicted to it, for lack of a better word, in a healthy way. Right. But I was out there and I was scrapping in, sometimes, at the clubs or what have you. Anyone that knows me kind of knows that. But I wasn't out starting stuff. I'm for any most of the time it was just actually defending other people, quite honestly. And not saying that's a good thing to do, but I do not regret some of the things I've learned from both psychologically, physically, because here I am. I've been teaching it for so many years. But anyways, this little boy comes up to me at the end of class, high five, high five, high five. And then he comes up and he looks up to me and he just looks at me with his little eyes and he says, "Thank you, sir, for teaching me." And I was like, whoa. Because up until then, it was always, yeah, I cared about people and I had a lot of friends and all of that. But in the karate, it was about me being the best kicker I could be, the best forms, the best self defense, the toughest one. To me, I wasn't, going around bragging or any of that stuff. It was a battle within myself, which is the way it should be, quite honestly. And people will feel that, and then you'll attract the same types of people, part of a magnetic company culture. But that just like blew me away. I was just like, wow, this little kid. I mean, like, whoa, I'm molding, I'm molding his little mind, his pretty much blank palette. I'm doing that. I have that type of impact on someone like that. Um, it was just like it just transformed everything. It said, whoa, instant purpose. Now I experienced that instant purpose. And a lot of times I might say, I feel fortunate to be able to do this. I'm grateful for doing all this. And all of that is true. But being able to help others was something I was willing to sacrifice for the training, the dedication, all of that. So it just doesn't fall in your lap. Okay. So anyways, what about your purpose? Let me know. What is leave a comment. What is your purpose? Do you know what your purpose is? If you don't, think about it. Take some time, reflect, put on some headphones, some mellow stuff, go out in nature, what have you, and just think. Think. It's hard to think when there's a lot of visual distractions going around or things going on around you, but think. Believe it or not, sometimes I think my best in a crowded coffee shop. It's weird. It just blocks things out. Um, but whatever it is to you, you got to find your purpose, because your purpose will help direct everything. Your purpose will help propel which way you go when you start building or you want to scale or build out your company. Because look, if you're still listening to this video, if you're still watching this video and you're a small business owner, then either A, you're saying, yep, I get it. Yep, I do it. Yep, I got it. And if you are, then you should feel really good about your career, what you do, and you should be rewarded for it in so many different ways already. Maybe not as much as you might want, but you should be rewarded for it, right? Meaning maybe you have more freedom than your friends that have to punch in and out. Hopefully you do. Maybe you're able to call your own shots. Maybe you're able to create things. I love creating things. I think all of us that are entrepreneur types, self-employed, love creating things. In fact, sometimes it becomes a challenge. That's why it's important that we find people that are really good at following through with what we want to create, because everybody's got their passion, but they're not going to work for a poser. The best people aren't going to work for a poser or a faker. Look at Starbucks. Everyone, whether you love their coffee or hate their coffee or whatever is going on with that company, irrelevant. At the beginning, it wasn't about the coffee. It was about the place. It was about, it was pretty cool how they made, that whole environment. They created that environment. They go to Italy, they feel the vibe in the coffee shops and stuff like that. They come back over and they say, hey, let's create a place between home and work. Let's create a place where everyone's going to, want to hang out. And then they want to step above it. Let's make it a little bit upscale. Let's make it so it's not like your old fashioned diner. Let's make it so it's something a little different that adds a little bit more exclusivity to it. And quite honestly, their prices, aren't much different or even lower than some of the niched out coffee places. Believe it or not, oh, they're really expensive, but I mean, they're all pretty competitive, unless you do go to a convenience store and buy the cheap coffee, and that's fine too. It depends on why you want the coffee, but that's not why Starbucks had created it. They created it for the environment. You don't. I personally, I love my caffeine, and personally, um, I'll go into both. I'll go into different ones, periodically, and you can feel a different vibe. You can feel the ones that hang out at this one versus the ones that hang out at this one. I don't see too many business meetings going on in a lot of some of the franchised out ones, some of the other franchised out ones. I don't see a lot of business meetings going down there where people are really sitting down and talking. You see those more at the Starbucks or at these niched out coffee shops. It's just a vibe. Maybe you don't feel it. I feel it. So that all makes difference. And that's not by accident. Whoever owns that coffee shop, that's not by accident. They had the purpose. What is the purpose? If your purpose is to give the best coffee on earth, well, then that's what's going to guide you. If your purpose is to create a place between home and work, that's what's going to guide you. And that was all based on your own personal, right? Your own personal values and vision and purpose. So you connected it with your company, right? And so find what your purpose is, and then go back, write out, your company right now, what's going on in your company. If you're struggling, if you're struggling finding people to, be good employees to build your dream team, or you're just struggling to find sale, create more sales because no one's going in, find a way. That's part of marketing. I used to coin some of my methods in leadership training. I used to call it sell it leadership. To myself more than anything. I didn't really put it out there anywhere, but sell it leadership. And, there's so many, I don't know, people get caught up on this stuff. And to me, it's just waste of time, and it creates bad, limited beliefs. But, like, oh, the word boss, I would never use the word boss. You hear all these leadership people, and you're like, oh, a boss is so negative, and, there shouldn't be an hierarchy and this and that. And, and a boss is, and it has this negative, feeling to it. When people, why does it have to be negative? I don't get it. I mean, oh yeah, when I heard some leadership coaches and they chime in on some groups or whatever, and they're like, well, we don't call, employees, we call them this, or we call them team members. And I have nothing wrong with team members or anything like that. But when they're faking it and they're calling them team members, I mean, come on, let's be real here. There is a boss. There is a boss. And that boss is one of three things. They're either the coolest boss ever, obviously. I talk a lot about the coolest boss ever. What does it mean to be the coolest boss ever? It's not because the boss called themselves the coolest boss ever. It's because that's the feeling that is inside the team, the employees, the culture. Okay. If your employee culture thinks you are the coolest boss ever, it shouldn't be because you go out and party with them all the time. It shouldn't be because you give them off any day they want. It shouldn't be because of this. Yeah, it shouldn't be any of those external motivations. Not really. Okay. To be the coolest boss ever is a feeling you've created within your employees. I can tell you pretty much, if you have a really good employee culture, it's because you listen to them. It's because you're open to feedback. It's because you are fair. You don't play favorites. It's because you're always seem positive, even when things are tough, and you're a leader. It's because they watch you and they know you don't pass. They don't see you passing the buck. They don't see every time something wrong goes. It's because you don't undermine them. Oh, when I go into a store or place and someone makes a mistake, one of the employees makes a mistake, and someone, their supervisor, boss, whatever you want to call them, goes up and just undermines them in front of customers and clients, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Don't tell the customer is always right. The customer is not always right. And so, do you scream at a customer, yell at a customer, and tell them to, no, I'm not saying that. But think about this for a second. Use some logic here for a second. Who has direct connection with your clients, customers, or potential clients or customers? Your employees. If they're not happy, if they got a crappy vibe going on, and that's because of your leadership, who's going to get it? Front line. They are the front line. Most of the time, the boss is not going to be the front line. One of the employees or the employees in general are going to be. If they are not happy, if they feel that you are a boss hole, then the customers, the clients, the future customers, whatever, they're going to hear about it, they're going to feel it, all of that. So, and for you to say, and if you undermine one of your employees, and I mean, don't get me wrong, if it is just pure negligence on an employee, I mean, it's deliberate negligence, not, they said the wrong price, or they made a mistake on one of the warranty, or something that can be fixed. I mean, as long as it's not negligence, because I mean, obviously, there's no excuse for negligence from your employees. But look at, if you undermine them in front of a customer, you might think you're gaining something from the customer, but really, what you're doing is undermining yourself and your leadership, and you're undermining your whole freaking company. If I walks into somewhere and I heard a boss, screaming and disrespecting one of their employees in front of people, I'd be like, I'm not giving this dude money, or whoever it is. I'm not giving this person money. I'm not giving this company money. I mean, why would I want to do that? That guy's a jerk. In fact, hey, I may walk into your company, and if they coincide with what I do and they align with mine, and I saw someone working a drive-through at a franchise, and believe me, you don't, you can also tell a difference at different drive-throughs. Once again, getting my coffees. You can always see the difference in training and who they hire. Okay. So that being said, there one drive-through I was going through, and there was a girl working the window, and she just had the best smile, and it was like, just a typical crappy franchise drive-through. Anyways, and I know they're probably making minimum wage. I'm pretty sure the leadership is desperate, looking for employees, yelling out orders, this and that. So, and obviously it doesn't happen to all of them, but my point is this: she had such a smile, and she was so polite. And when I asked for this, she knew how to answer correctly. I mean, it had to be a character thing, probably not a training thing, meaning she wasn't trained to be that way. She had the character, and then was trained. But I'll tell you what, I mean, I see someone like that and I got an open, and I'm going to be like, hey, look, that's the way I hire. I hire, as long as I have the base skills, I'm hiring on character. I'm hiring if they align with my vision and with my values of the company and whatever. I can teach people to do stuff, right? Or I can find people to teach people to do stuff. But if I got the person with the wrong character traits, then you know what? That's a losing battle. And in fact, you don't just stay the same. You either go up or you go down. So if you think your company is just hanging there, it isn't. It's either going up or going down. And if you think it's just hanging there, it's probably going down. All right. So you got to do something. And I'll tell you, when you develop this type of employee vibe and culture, you will not only attract employees that you want to have part of your team, part of your dream team. I say dream team because a dream team is a step above just a team. A dream team is, man, they're not, you might think, oh, they're all clone like me, the boss. No, in fact, a dream team won't be like you. They'll share the same level, the same values, maybe the same level of excellence and service or whatever. They'll share all of that. And of course, the purpose, but they should know things and be better at things that you are not. Like, would you really want 10 of you running around? Probably not, if you were really honest with yourself. But you would want someone that's really awesome. If you have a CFO, I have a CFO. I mean, this person rocks what they do. They are passionate. I have to tell them sometimes, remind them, hey, look, and make sure you enjoy time off because they just love what they do. But even more than that, purpose. She has purpose. And that was huge for me to invite her to become part of our team here. So you don't want a bunch of clones like you. But anyways, that being said, all right, what happened in your life? What has happened in your life that possibly could create the purpose that you need that is going to drive you forward? And that could change. Your purposes could change once you fulfill your mission or whatever it may be. That may change, but you want to make sure you know what that purpose is. And if you want, ask me if you have any questions for me. I'd love to help you. That's what I do. I love doing that. All right. And if I hear one more time, nobody wants to work anymore. Nobody wants to work anymore. Everybody's lazy. Everybody wants handouts. Everybody. Generalization. Is it true for some people? Yes, of course it is. I mean, there's always going to be lazy people. And not just lazy people, but people that have somehow or another acquired a victim mentality where they just think, look at, I'm screwed. So I'll take whatever I can get and just get by day after day after day. And it's sad when I see people like that, even extreme, when you see people that are really down and out. It is sad. And if you have any type of empathy or compassion or what have you, you'll feel the same way. Because deep down inside, I mean, whether there's addictions or not, deep down inside they have something to offer, and they just went down that wrong path. And I can totally get it, because who knows if I didn't, find my martial arts training and my senseis who became my mentors, much more than just the punches and kicks, in so many different ways, helped guide me along with my parents. But it takes a team. Like they say, it takes a village, right, to raise a child. And it's true, the right village. But you want to make sure that, when you look for people to become part of your team, that you have the values laid out, you have the purpose laid out. And I know I'm driving this into the ground because it's going to be ignored. Most of you won't do anything with this information. Some of you will, and you'll be so happy you'll let me know. But it just makes it so much better and easier to scale and become a super successful company, a company that's going to pretty much or run by itself as much as you want it to, and give you the opportunity to live whatever your dream life is. Don't you want that? Don't you want your dream life, whatever that is? Hanging out with family more, hanging out with friends more, creating a legacy. Maybe your dream life means eventually just sitting back and watching people in your life, whether they're friends, family, whatever it is, being able to, it creates opportunities for them to live their best life, their dream life. I mean, I would love, that's one of my goals, is to create those types of opportunities for my family and friends. What they do with those opportunities is up to them. I mean, once again, I'm not going to give them a lottery ticket because I know how that ends up. All right. We talked about that. But legacy to me is probably the number one thing that drives me at this point in my career, in my life. And yeah, I want to sit back in an enjoyable chair and an enjoyable house, and an enjoyable environment, and an enjoyable area to watch other people being able to take advantage of the opportunities that I helped create, even strangers. So I think that's cool too. But you need alignment. Once you have all this in place, and we'll finish with this, you need alignment. So what that means is, and when I teach hiring strategies, because nobody wants to work anymore. No, most of the time it's just because they don't want to work for you, whether you want to hear that or not. They don't want to work for you. Don't take it personal. It might be the company. It might be your purpose. It might be a lot of things. But they do want to work. If you find the right thing, I would have parents come in to my studio. A lot of times we deal with a lot of kids that are challenged with focus. And I say kids, believe me, anything I say about kids goes for adults as well. Adults, it's even harder because it's probably ingrained more into them. So it's harder to eliminate some of these habits and and beliefs that they may have that's holding them back. But either way, they'll say, "Oh, my kid has he can't focus. He just can't." And then they say it right in front of the child, but he can't focus. He can't sit. He can't sit still. He can't this, can't that, can't. And then I say, "So you're telling me if I put a video game controller in his hand, he couldn't sit still for an hour?" "Oh no, he could sit still for 3 hours." You just got done telling me he can't sit still. He can't sit still. Well, he can. You just didn't find a way to make that happen. Now, of course, video games are much more stimulating than math or what. Well, some people really love math, really dig math. But my point is, self-motivation comes from within. So motivation is not something you create on someone, believe it or not. It's something that's in them. As a leader, as a seller, anyone that sells stuff, whether it's services or products, they want to dig into your feeling that's going to motivate you. They need to visually give you something, see something, hear something that's going to get you to, create that desire in you. You go, wow, yeah, that would feel awesome. And you start feeling it. And see how you just automatically kick into your future self. You could actually see yourself driving it or living in it or whatever you might, whatever you're talking about. But they can only help you create that feeling. And then it's up to you to create the feeling. And once you get that feeling, that's what will create the motivation to take the next step. So, alignment, when you have the purpose and the values and the vision all done, you can create that vision driven company. And now hiring is so much effective. Okay. Now, obviously, it depends on the size of your company. If I'm talking to a landscape company, and no doubt you drive anywhere, you see landscapers everywhere. That is hard freaking work. All right. And there's so many different levels of skills in that type of business as well. But it's hard work. I mean, it's all about they have to not just have quality, because if you're not good, if you're sloppy, you're not gonna, they're not gonna keep you. Okay. But you also have to have volume, quantity. So you got to be good and fast. And then bam, I mean, you're driving home at night. You might be driving home at 6, 7 o'clock at night and still see these people out mowing lawns and landscaping and pruning this because they have to get the gigs in. And everybody wants their shit done today, right? All their customers want it done today. And I'm like, wow, how long can you do that for? Now, to me, if I was to investigate, get into like some really hardcore landscaping companies, I would literally talk to the owner or whoever the leadership is. I would literally talk to them and say, why do you do what you do? What got you into this? What do you love? What do you dig about landscaping? And you'll be able to tell right away the vibe if they're really into it, if they're really into creating and landscaping and whatever it may be. Or maybe it's not even the visual to them. Maybe they just love the feeling they get when they do a great job and the client comes out and says, "Wow, this is awesome." And they get off on the feeling of the client. And it's like, yeah, that's why I do what I do. No different than me molding little minds or older minds. But landscapers, cars. You're selling a car, you're not selling a house, you're selling an experience that could be generational. And I know you've probably heard a lot of this before, but you've also, if you're not super successful, you ignored it to some degree. That's what you got to do. And that's how you'll be able to hire people. You can hire them based on character traits first. That can be the preliminary. How would you rate yourself on reliability from 1 to 5? I'm not judging you. I want you to rate yourself. And you start ingraining that right from the beginning, and you'll start feeling if this person aligns with what your company is all about. Right. And once again, your company is a reflection of you. Anyone that walks into my studio knows that it's a reflection of me. And then everybody that, my manager and all my other team members that are awesome, they all aligned with that. They didn't create it. They aligned with it. And now they put it on their shoulders and they're able to just keep it going. And that's awesome. That's incredible. That's a dream team. All right. So character, base skills, and then keep in mind, you got a job description and you got an employee description. Not everybody fits in a job description. A job description, for the most part, is describing what the job entails. You do this is your responsibilities. This is it. Look, and not everybody's going to align with that role. Everyone has their things that they're into. So as a leader, when you're hiring people, even, and we're not getting deep into this right now, but when you're hiring people, just remember that, hire on the character first. Are they reliable? Are they loyal? Are they hard workers? Do they feel good about a job well done? Do they get along good with others? Do they like team? What are they into? You'll find out a lot of, and then, yeah, I mean, they're going to list their skills, and then you can test them on whatever the base skills that are absolutely necessary for the gig. But once again, depending on your company, depending on your business, you really just got to have those base skills. And then from there, you just want to know the bottom line. The question is, will this person be a contributing, productive, and amazing addition to our dream team? Minus the skills, minus the outcomes. Is the rest of the team going to like this person? Are they going to fit into the culture? And when you got that, then you will start attracting people, because then you get referrals from current employees. You start attracting the same types of people. They don't say, I want to work for that guy, or that they want to work for that woman or whoever. They don't want to work for that person that's the boss. They want to work for that company because the company was a reflection of the boss. Okay. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and it was all about, don't be a faker, right? Stop faking it. If you're not into what you're doing, don't expect super successful company. If you don't have a purpose, if you're not aligned with the values, and you don't have people, you're not going to attract anyone that's going to do it. They're going to smell you a mile away. They're going to see you a mile away. And nobody likes a faker or poser. So don't be one. All right. So if you enjoyed this video, please comment below. Let me know that you enjoyed it. Maybe some possible other videos you want me to do. I do these Thursdays. All right. We shoot them. And then I have some other videos we got going on. Also, I do a 15-minute leadership break, just a 15-minute short, cool strategies and tips for leadership on Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. in my Facebook group, which is actually called the Society of Coolest Bosses Ever. No boss holes allowed. If you would like some information on that, just let me know. And then I can send you a link or something to get you part of our Society of Coolest Bosses Ever. Look, at my goal, my mission now is to create a trend in companies, small, medium, large, whatever it is. Guys, we need to step up the culture, the employee culture. We need to step up the leadership, the quality of leadership in these companies. Why? Because if you're a small business owner, I feel you deserve to be successful. I love seeing passionate people create and bust their ass to make it happen. And at the same time, I think all good, hardworking employees deserve to have a culture and a company where they feel important, they feel acknowledged and recognized, and they just always want to contribute. So I want bosses and employees to grow together. It's not one, it's not the other. Let's be real. Let's grow together, and then everybody's freaking happy. And that's how we'll turn around this whole shitstorm, so to speak, that is happening in the work world. Okay, align with the people and the up and coming generations. Look, it's all going to be about how you can relate to them. So don't say, oh, no one wants to work anymore. No, they want to work. Do they want to work for you? So until next time, guys, keep being the coolest boss ever. See you next time.